afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time. Harrison Young, with Harrison Young, I should say, in June. I can't believe it. We're June 1st already. And I have an awesome guest tonight who is actually one of those guests that comes from word of mouth, which is getting more and more for Topic Time lately. And I'm going to talk to him and talk about what he's done and what his deal is. But before we do that, I've got to read these great underwriters, and then we will commence per usual. So, you got the Gunrunner LLC in Middleborough, dedicated to your Second Amendment rights, where customers are friends. We got Jacobs Detailing Garage in Middleborough. We got Dave's Automotive, good old Dave's Automotive in Hanson, right here on Route 58. We got Crazy Axes Rec Center in Hanover. We got WR Logan Excavating Contractors in Middleborough. We got Vape Solutions in East Bridgewater. We got Pals Driving School in Middleborough, now setting up classes for June, July, and August for people in Middleborough and vicinity. We got Main Ingredient in Middleborough, Just Good Food. We got Maggie's Cuts in Kingston. We got New England Floorscapes in Middleborough. We got Salon Giovanni in Marshfield. We got Tom Otto in Middleborough. We got Pacini's Pizza in Middleborough. They deliver. We got Genuine's Inspection in Middleborough. We got Pembroke Radiator in Pembroke. We got the Cornerstone Barbershop in Pembroke. We got Ocean Street Auto Repair and Service in Marshfield. And we got DNS Auto Works and Collision Specialists in Abington. I want to thank you guys very much. And now on that note, I'll now officially introduce Mr. Justin Fairbank. He's he owns or he's promoting a historical home in Dedham, Mass, which is what he says is the oldest house of its type in the United States, and I guess it goes in with his ancestry. You saw my interview with the iconic weatherman Mark Rosenthal a few years ago, and he said he wanted to do the show, so here he is. So, Justin, thanks for coming down and doing my show today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right. Now, what I do with every guest, I mean, I want to find out a little more about you before we talk about, your deal with the home, and that's great. Because we're just going to lead into that. So tell me about what you were like growing up. Where did you grow up? You live in Dedham now. Did you grow up there?
I did.
Okay,
yeah.
so you're lifelong Dedhamite.
Lifelong Dedhamite.
Okay.
Yeah, so Dedham my whole life.
Okay.
Went to school in the area.
Yep.
I left when I went to college.
Where'd you go to college?
You went to the University of Mary Washington. So that's in Virginia.
Oh, okay. What's the name of it? University of
Mary Washington.
Oh, Mary Washington.
George Washington's mother.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So
didn't even know what his mother's name was until today. You learn something every day.
Learn something, right?
Exactly. Wow.
And then came back to Massachusetts for work, and kind of been here ever since.
What did you major in at Mary Washington?
Business.
Okay. Now you're a self-made entrepreneur, aren't you? At this time.
Yeah, you could say that.
Well, I did a little research on your Facebook page, and it said you're a proprietor and you do sales and marketing.
I do, and I also have a startup. So I have kind of a full-time job.
Okay.
And I work for a furniture manufacturer.
Okay, right.
And then on the side of that, I have a startup.
What do you mean by startup?
So it's called Idea Trek, and it's basically a startup incubator. So taking smaller startups and building them, whether that's through marketing or personnel, whatever the case may be.
You have to understand the jargon's a little over my head because the only startup I know, that's okay, you'll explain it. Startup is what you do with a car, what you do with a can opener, whatever. But
baby business.
It's got to do with, I assume it's 21st century lingo for something, right, for something.
Makes it sound more important than it is.
No, I'm sorry, it's very important. It's not that. It's, okay. All right. So obviously, now I assume that a lot of this is through online contacts with people all over the world.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now we're gonna. You have a house your family has a house in Dedham, which is you explain to it. It's the oldest house of some kind of its kind in Dedham. What is? Be more specific.
Yeah. I mean, basically, we call it the oldest timber framed house.
Okay.
In the United States, we try to say that so. We don't cross any lines. If someone would like to say, come forward and say that, wooden house, wooden structure, whatever the case may be.
Something that's similar to that they feel is maybe even older.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand.
Although I haven't seen it.
Right, but you want to make sure you're not.
It's safe.
You want to make sure that what you're describing is accurate and not, and not going to, for lack of a better word, defame somebody else's property and. Right.
No.
Okay. And it's this kind of runs in your family. Well, is this a tourist attraction? Is this something that people can visit Dedham to see, like a museum?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's a museum.
Okay.
It's been a museum for over 120 years.
So what year was the house built in?
1637.
Wow. Okay. That is an old house.
So, and a lot of times people will say, well, there were houses before that, and of course there were, but they're just not around. So
Oh, I see what you mean. Houses, this is the oldest house that's still standing built in the United States
Right.
of this type of structure.
North America
North America, even so that includes Canada too.
does.
Cool. Wow. All right. So what was so significant about this house that it was so well preserved for so long?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I try to ask great questions.
Yeah. I mean, one of the main reasons that it's very well built is that Jonathan Fairbanks, the man who built it,
Okay.
instead of trying to do it himself,
Is it Fairbanks or Fairbank?
they're both are correct.
Oh, I see.
We have a
Okay.
little split.
Because your last name doesn't have an S on the end of it.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. But he hired master craftsmen, as they're called,
Yep.
to do everything. So from the woodwork to any of the bricks. So all of that, a lot of people would just build their houses themselves.
Okay.
But obviously, sometimes people don't know what they're doing.
Okay.
So I would say that that's one of the main reasons that the house is still standing. It was just very well built. And on top of that, as the years went on, things happened within the family.
Okay.
There was a lot of kind of mischief and other things that led to the family kind of going bankrupt. So
Okay.
there was never electricity put into the house. There was never running water.
Okay.
So it kind of stood in its time frame.
It might as well have been a 17th century house even today.
Might as well.
All right. Well, now what I want to ask you is, does it have any significance in American history? Obviously, it was pre-revolution. If it was 1637,
Yep.
the revolution didn't happen for 100, almost 200 years later.
Yeah.
So, are there any historical significant facts about the house, in addition to the fact that it's as old as it is, that you might want to cover?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few things that I think are significant. One, a man named Jason Fairbanks, he lived in the house.
Okay.
He ended up getting hung
For what?
for murdering his girlfriend.
Okay. This must have been, I assume, around the time it was.
1801.
Wow.
It actually turned out to be the last public hanging in Massachusetts.
Okay. I'm glad I asked.
It was
And that's a relative of yours, right?
right,
Wow.
and it was quite a spectacle.
Yeah.
And my family broke him out of jail, and he made it all the way up to Canada. But unfortunately, they caught him, or maybe fortunately.
Yeah.
Brought him back, and he ended up meeting his punishment.
I know the executioner,
Yep.
the hangman.
The hangman.
Where did they hang him? They hang him. I don't want to drudge up too many sour memories, but as long as you're on the subject.
I don't remember them.
Okay.
And he got hung in Dedham.
He got hung in Dedham.
On the
Wow.
Dedham Square, and it's
Wow.
said that over 10,000 people came to
Watch the hanging.
to watch the hanging.
I know that area, Route 109.
Yep.
I know it very well.
Right on the Commons.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
Yep, right where it splits.
Yep.
So that's, I mean, a pretty significant, I guess, I don't know, contribution.
No, but it is interesting. I mean, sure.
It
I mean,
is, I think, quite interesting.
yeah.
And then as well, as far as other members of the family, the Fairbanks have, quite a few well-known. Douglas Fairbanks.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Most
The actor,
people,
right?
Yeah, but he's actually not really a Fairbanks in
Okay.
a sense related. But one of, I guess, Teddy Roosevelt's vice president
Yeah.
was a Fairbank. Fairbanks, Alaska is named after
Wow.
him.
I've been there.
You've been to Fairbanks.
Well, we stopped in on the way. It was actually Anchorage. I'm sorry. In 1998, I went to China and we stopped in Anchorage. But I think we must have flown near Fairbanks. They couldn't be too far apart, I assume. But yeah,
I don't think. I mean, my geography of Canada,
yeah, I know
Alaska
it's
is
yeah.
a little off, but I don't assume
I
that.
think I saw Mount McKinley from where I was.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
It is, yeah. Okay, wow, but that's an interesting. Why would they name a town clear across in a territory that wasn't even a state
Yeah,
until 1959?
it's a great question.
Oh,
Well, I mean, there's some thought that typically in the West or other frontier villages, towns, what you would typically do is you would name the town
Yeah.
after someone who hopefully had some money,
yeah.
in the hopes that they would give the town money if they named it after them.
Oh, that's cool. Aaron.
He never did that.
Okay.
But they tried, and that's why I always question that too. Why Alaska? Why was he the person they named it after? But that's the reason. So
The mayor of Harrison, New York, has been asking me for money for years. I laugh at him every time.
how's that working out?
It's working out fine for me. Well,
Fair enough.
I know. I couldn't resist that one.
No,
but
that was a good one.
wow. Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, are there any other significant people in the family history going back to the house? And Oh, and all right, the people, the original builders of the house?
Yeah.
Were they just colonists? I assume they were Puritans, Pilgrims. Well, I don't know about Pilgrims because Pilgrims.
yeah, so
founded
not
Plymouth.
not Pilgrims. They were Puritans.
Yeah, okay.
And they came over to Boston.
Yeah.
Just kind of
From England?
from England.
Yep.
And just looking for I wouldn't say a better life, but
Okay.
really to make it rich. I think a lot of
course.
people were doing that, and we kind of downplay it. But there were plenty of people coming over here with the hopes of making more money. He actually had quite a significant amount of money coming over, which is probably why he was able to afford paying those people to build his house.
Okay.
But that being said, at that point in England, land is very scarce.
Right.
Wood is becoming even scarcer. So we have all of that here. So it makes sense to come over.
Right, coming over to the colonies was something that I assume only the most privileged of the English people could do.
Some
The
of them,
peasants
yeah.
did not have a chance. They were still stuck with King George, right on his own, in his own frontier.
Yep.
Right. Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So where do you come in as far as like you give tours of the house to people? Is that it, or are you?
So I do
promote
I do,
it?
Yeah, so I do give tours. Growing up.
Guided tours, like personal?
Yeah, guided
Okay.
tours. Right now we do them Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
In the past, before the pandemic, we almost did them every day.
Right.
But now they're hourly, and you can find all of that information on the website.
Yep. Yep.
But personally, growing up in Dedham, my mom was on the board of the museum for as long as I can remember, and she was the president for a
Okay.
long time, vice president. And she told me when I graduated college that I could join the board.
Okay.
I don't know if she had that power to really tell me I couldn't, but that was, our kind of
Well, that was a
rule.
while ago. Have you on the board now?
I am. So
Okay.
I've been on the board since 2011.
Okay.
I was the vice president for a little bit. Now I'm the head of the marketing committee for the museum.
Okay.
So that's a lot of what I contribute.
Right.
And I also do live on the property.
Right.
So for the past few years, I've lived there and overseeing and making sure that things run smoothly when maybe our staff isn't on the property. So or if anything needs to be done, I try to help out. Yeah.
Okay. Basically, you're in charge of covering the maintenance and stuff.
Yep. a lot of
Okay.
it.
Do you have any carpentry skills yourself?
No, nope. I would not want me to do any kind of carpentry.
No, that's okay. That's cool. That's no.
But I mean, specifically for the museum.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that it's so expensive to run it is because of the house and its age.
Yeah.
We have to find people that can use these very old tools.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of people that, one, have those tools and B, know how to use those tools. So Plymouth Plantation, for instance,
Yeah.
they help us out quite a bit.
Okay. How do they do that?
Well, they come up with their craftsmen and.
Oh, okay. So they bring the tools from. Wow.
Yep. So if any woodworking, needs to be done, typically they're the ones that come up and will help. So.
What do you mean by old tools? Like tools the kind of tools that built the house originally need to be used. I mean, you
Or
can't.
close to it. They need to be, hand tools.
Okay.
And the more accurate, the better, because we want, the way that
You
the
want
wood
it
is
to remain
carved.
authentic as it looked all those
Absolutely.
centuries ago.
Yeah.
Obviously, using power saws and jig and whatever all the power tools that they use now and the drills or whatever that
Right.
doesn't cut it, right?
Well,
Or it does cut it, but it doesn't.
Well, it does, right? Oh, that was a good
It's a
one.
bad pun, but there it is. Yeah.
I mean, if the woodwork can't be seen,
Yeah.
I'm all for us doing things more efficiently and cheaper.
Okay.
But if it's going to be something that can be seen, we want to, make sure that it's, as original looking as possible. So that's when those types of tools would come into play.
Cool. Well, guess what? We're halfway through the show, and what we're going to do right now is we're going to watch a little video of your latest promotion of the house, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, folks, without further ado, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. So tell me about that video. That was great.
Yeah, so it's interesting. A few weeks ago, there was a family member at the house giving a tour. His name is Chris Newman.
Okay.
Newman. And Chris is a professional a drone flyer or operator. More specifically, he does a lot of IMAX. So he's actually in Boston doing an IMAX movie. But he had some time, and he is a Fairbank.
Okay.
So he just wanted to come to the house. So him and I started talking, and he said that his family actually was going to be coming up from, I think they live in Missouri,
Okay.
on a trip. So I told him, hey, next time you come up, bring your drone. We could get some really great shots.
Okay. By drone, you mean like toy helicopter?
Yeah,
I mean,
a little bit
yeah.
more sophisticated than
Right.
a toy helicopter, but right, and one that has a really good HD
Okay.
1080 camera on it. And so
Well, you're talking, these would be for taking pictures of the outside, the exterior of the house.
correct.
But what about taking pictures of the interior?
Yeah, so you can't do that with the drone.
Exactly. So
Right.
what do you take them with? Just a regular
So
iPhone camera?
So, specifically, not in this video, we didn't do any still shots or anything like that.
Okay.
But, typically, yeah, we would just bring in, regular cameras or whatever the case may be. There's not a lot of light in the house, so
Right.
usually we have to pipe in electricity somehow to get lights.
So
just
there is
like you
no,
have.
there is no actual, you're basically running the house just like it was in the 1600s.
Yeah, and I mean,
Okay.
there's a few reasons, obviously, for authenticity, but also anytime you put electricity into a house this old, you worry about fire.
Exactly.
So we do have two outlets in the house, but those are put in when we had our fire system put in.
Do you have you must need to heat the house in the winter. You have like wood burning stove, coal stove, nothing?
No, the house is not heated.
The house is not heated, so you don't give tours in the winter then, or do you?
We don't. No.
Got to be during the warm weather.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised actually the way that the house is built.
Yeah?
Typically,
It's insulated though,
on
right?
on a cold day, it's actually warmer than you would think in the house. And,
Okay.
and opposite during the summer, it's actually very cool for the most part, unless we have one of those heat waves where it's really humid. Eventually, it seeps in.
Yeah.
But other than that, again, speaking to how well they built this house, during the winter it is warmer, and during the summer it is cooler. So
Okay, so
not that you want to stay in there in the winter,
right.
but
But do you give tours in the winter?
we don't.
You don't. Okay, so what are your seasons for the tours?
So the season starts May 1st
Okay.
and it ends Halloween.
Okay, so it's a 6-month time period from May to November.
6 months. Yep.
Okay.
That's when the house is open.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but during the other 6 months, that's when you maintain the house and you keep it,
Right.
fresh as you have to.
Right. And we want to make sure that the spirits in the house have their time to kind of run around.
That would have
too.
been that's going to be my next
So-
question. Do you have reportings of ghost sightings in there?
Yeah, we do. We do.
Okay.
And, every single year we do have paranormal teams that come through the house. The team from TAPS, the Ghost Hunters on television.
Yep.
They've been to the house before, and we've had teams from all over the world.
Okay.
I like to think that if there are going to be spirits anywhere, why wouldn't they be in America's oldest timber
house. That's
timber
me
frame
too.
house?
I would agree with that.
Everyone talks about, are you creeped out? I don't really get creeped out. I think that if there are
I'd
spirits,
love to spend the night in a haunted house. I don't know if you know this, but
I don't know if you want to hope for that, but
no, I would. I'd try it. I'd give it a shot. Look,
all right.
back in 1990, I don't know if you remember this. You were a little kid in 1990, but I was in my 30s. Leonard Bernstein, remember the Boston Pops conductor?
Yeah.
Well, they had a haunted house, allegedly a haunted house out, and I believe in Lenox. Tanglewood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. And he spent the night, and he said it freaked him out.
Yeah.
And I wanted to spend the night there. I called the board of tourism, and they said, no, we can't let just anybody come in, because then other people, anybody would want to come in.
Well, you know what? I'll go to bat with the board for you and see.
What,
if
for
we
letting
can-
me spend
we
the night
can-
in
we can
your
get
house?
you in there. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There's no bathroom though, so I don't.
Okay,
know what you're gonna do
well,
with that, but
if good thing I feel almost
maybe
ashamed to
we
be
could let you-
civilized now.
yeah, maybe we could let you use the bathroom in the
In the gas station
in-
there down the road.
or that, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah,
You don't have it. Well, wait a minute. All right, if there's no back in those days, everything was done.
there is a bathroom.
Okay.
You just
Just
wouldn't
no
wanna
plumbing,
use it.
right?
There's no plumbing. It's basically bored with a hole in it. Yeah.
I don't think the ghost would be too happy about that.
I don't. I don't think so at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I know.
But just even the past few days, we've been having an issue with one of our motion sensors in a specific.
You actually have a
room.
motion sensor in the
We
house?
do have motion sensors,
Okay.
yeah, to make sure that no one
one's
can get
screwing
into the
around, yeah, I
house.
know.
But this motion sensor has been going off since November pretty often. I would say every other night between 1 and 2. And
Do you think that's the
specific-
ghost?
Well, the way that the motion sensors they're set up, they're supposed to not go off unless it's over 4 feet tall and it has to weigh more than 30 pounds.
Yeah. What does? There's something, anything moving in the
It's
house?
supposed to. That's
Yeah.
So if there's a rat running around, for instance, it wouldn't set it off.
Right,
Or
but you
it shouldn't.
Right. But
So-
but the doors are pretty, well, I mean, you would have, if there were rats in the house, you'd have seen them. And I'm
Right.
sure that
There's no
and I'm sure
rats.
you got to be careful because the Board of Health has a say on,
Right, but there's no rats. But I mean,
Okay.
everyone has their own theories. The curtains, maybe they blew or whatever
Yeah, yeah.
the case may be, but it's not the case. So it's very frustrating. And they seem to do it during
Now, you
summer.
live in the house, you say, right?
I live in the curator's house next door to
Oh,
me.
next door, okay. There you have electricity, you can cook, you can go to the bathroom.
We do all the luxuries. Yeah.
Right, well, if I was gonna stay overnight, I might want to, do all that
Yeah,
stuff.
we could leave the door open so you can
Right.
use our bathroom.
Right next door. It's almost like a bed and breakfast kind of thing.
Almost.
Right.
Except I can't cook that.
You can't cook, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. I can cook. I cook myself every day. And it's all vegan food too. That's
Again, I can't cook that, so you'd have to.
that's
have to
fine.
figure
Well,
that situation out.
that's just the point. Now, what color is it? A black color? I'm guessing. I'm thinking brown, like darkish, kind of maroon colored wood. Is that
The
it?
house itself?
Yes.
So it's not painted. It's I believe a cedar. So
Okay,
it's
right.
similar to what you see kind of on Cape Cod houses.
Yes.
Except it's
There's that nice
it's
woody smell when you
horizontal.
walk in.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It
know. That's
does.
a nice smell, like pine wood kind of.
It does
Yeah.
a very unique scent that only almost 400-year-old house would
Right.
have. Yep.
Okay. Does it creak much?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. That's definitely a sign of an old
Yeah.
house.
Well, yeah, the house is settled pretty well at this point, but there is, especially on the second floor, there's some boards that you probably don't want to walk over. And we, every single year make sure that everything's supported properly. But there are a few rooms that we don't let people go into.
How many acres of land are there in the property?
So I believe that right now we have about 2 acres.
Okay.
But at its largest, there was probably around 20 acres.
Okay. What happened to the rest of them? What did they do? Build on
So
them?
we sold them off.
Sold them off.
Best Buy and Dedham's built on part of the property.
Right.
Yeah. So
Wow.
well, so over time, you just don't. It wasn't a working farm anymore, and there was just no need.
Right.
Developers came in and took over pieces of land, and the house itself almost was torn down because of the mortgage on the house. Couldn't pay it anymore.
Well, when did this almost
This
happen?
is before it became a museum. The
Okay.
last person to live in the house, and
So how long? Do you know what year that was?
1902.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
the developer came in and was going to tear the house down.
Yeah, yeah.
And 2 upper class ladies in Boston purchased the house from the
Okay.
developer because they understood its significance.
Sweet.
Even at that point, it was old.
Yep.
And they sold it back to the family. And that's, when the museum began in our family organization. So, but, again, who would have known that the house was going to get, torn down and we wouldn't have this gem, still standing.
Those two upper class ladies. I'm wondering if that was Diamond and Silk as time travelers going back in time.
I wish I remembered their names, and I should. I feel bad that I don't. But
That's okay.
wealthy families were doing this all over the United States. One of the reasons that Jefferson's house is still standing, or Mount Vernon. I
Yep.
mean, all of these places.
That's Virginia.
It is.
Yeah.
But all these places were being torn down, and no one really cared about the historical significance.
Yep.
It was just great property. So we kind of fell into that bucket with all of them, and luckily it was a happy ending.
Well, it is a happy ending, and I'm very happy. And I think that everything, all the good homes and schools and stuff should be preserved for history. I mean, and we. By the way, we're down to the final 5 minutes. We made it go by. So, just very quickly, like for instance, now I went to an elementary school which was built in 1896.
Yeah.
And it's got a long story. It's what we used to call the barnyard on Belair Street, the Ellis Press School in Brockton, right?
Okay.
Now it's apartments. I'm hoping someday the Historical Society of Brockton, whenever ultimately finds it in their will to make it into a historical
In their
shrine.
hearts.
What's that?
Finds it in their hearts.
Well, the Hearts, whatever, because it has a huge history with
Yeah.
a lot of kids that went there. And I've had my mother and my brother have the same first grade teacher. So in other words, we had generations of people, having teachers that were old elderly people that stayed on for decades.
Yeah.
And it was pretty incredible. That's just something that my own personal experience is something that I feel should be incorporated into a historical realm, and I always can appreciate that when whether it's a house, a school.
I mean, it's nice that the building's still there, right?
Right.
That's the more
Oh, it
significant.
is. The building looks
significant,
as good as it's ever
purpose.
looked. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of times towns or organizations try to think outside the box and saying it's not practical to use the building for what it's what it was
Well, it's
used for.
practical because apartments, the people still live there. But I'm
Right.
thinking at some point, if they ever decide to maybe try to make an offer to the people living there to sell them, to buy them out, and then turn it into a historical shrine. It may never happen, but I go by that school every
Should
day.
reach out.
What's that?
You should reach out.
Well, I might. I know I'm friends. I'm friends with the people in the historical
Yeah,
society.
especially
But
if you know
at
someone.
the end of the day, it's up to them.
Right.
All right. Well, listen. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Look at the camera. Give shouts out to people that are going to see the show. You can start with Mark. I think you're engaged. You got a fiance. You
Yeah.
can definitely include her. And then we'll wrap the show up with my music the way we began.
My fiance Gina, love you. Mark.
Marco.
Mark Rosenthal, you're
Thank
the
you.
man. My dad in Albany, if you're watching, which maybe you are, love you, and my mom in
Cool.
Dedham.
Awesome.
Lynn Fairbank.
There you go.
She's the original Fairbank.
Well, I hope. Well, the other thing is, if you have fun with me, I'd love to get more guests on through word of mouth. If you can think of anybody that has an interesting story to tell, whether it's someone in your family, someone historically important for whatever reason, you got my digits now. Have them text me. We'll get them on the show either here or one of my other fine locations.
I love it.
Because I do the show with more than one. And all right, well, you did a great job with me, and we'll wrap the show up the way we began with my music. You ready to rock and roll again?
I can't snap it.
You don't. All right,
I'll
you're
try.
ready to watch me rock and
Yeah,
roll
I'll
again.
watch you. Yeah.
Okay,
Probably
folks.
better.
Thanks for watching Top of Time. See you in a few weeks. Take care. Bye bye.